Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a DIY Dollar Tree love sign. Yes, I know, you know. We're going to use this love sign from the Dollar Tree, as well as our chalk paint, and then of course the black paint, just black craft paint. You can get it at the Dollar Tree or at Walmart just to create gray and black. We're also going to use some paper and fabric. I'm going to show you guys. We're going to decoupage and paint, and then of course we're going to need some Mod Podge. This one is from the Dollar Tree, and then of course a foam brush. Now we're going to use, I prefer the matte Mod Podge because we're going to use chalk paint and it does have a very dull finish. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with flipping this over. I took the string off. It has D-rings on the back, so if you want to hang this, you could put a hanger back on it. I've made it so it stands. That's how I'm displaying it in my house, but you go ahead and do any of those things that you want. But what I'm doing is I'm tracing the letters onto the materials that we're going to cover them with. Now, I did this in the buffalo check style. I picked 4 different sizes of buffalo check. Because I only had 3 in fabric and paper, I went ahead and I painted the fourth one to just be much larger. But I decided which material I wanted in which area, and I went ahead and I cut accordingly. So on the back of the paper, this is paper that I got from Holler, I went ahead and I traced the back of the E, and it's just easier that way, so you don't have to worry about pencil lines and erasing pen lines and whatever. The next 2 letters, the L isn't as difficult as the V, but the V is the most difficult to trace, especially when you're going to go do it on fabric. So I'll show you how we do it and how we achieve the look that we're going for. The other thing that I want to consider was I wanted, as the letters went on, so the E looks like it's over the V looks like it's over the O looks like it's over the L, and it's just ever so slightly. So that's why I started cutting the E first, okay? So this is just me deciding like I'm planning it out. So if you have 4 different materials that you want to cover the 4 different leathers with, I was inspired. You go ahead and decide what's going to fit where in your design. I was inspired to do this one, and it was going to be a video in a set of 3 quick crafts. But you guys know, it was just too much detail for me to go ahead and throw it in with 2 other quick crafts. So, I'm showing you, no, I was inspired by my Facebook group. This one, my Facebook group, not my Facebook group, but the Facebook Dollar Tree Crafts group that I belong to on Facebook. It was sort of everybody wanted to see, what did you do with your love sign? And I realized I didn't buy this love sign this year. I bought this last year. And it was been sitting behind me in the craft room forever. And I was like, why didn't I just redo it? I know I was done with Valentine's Day decor. But this, again, just like some of the things that we made this year, does not have to be for Valentine's Day. All right. As a matter of fact, I think this one, as well as the double wreath, are going to go in my room for eternity. All right. So what I did was I decided where I wanted the plaid to land on the V, how much white and how much black I wanted it to be. So I went ahead and placed that. And then I'm taking my fine point Sharpie marker, and I'm using that. It's really only showing up really well on the white areas, but I'm outlining wherever I can. And I've kind of, you can see it a little bit there on the black when you're up close, but you can't see it in real life. So what I'm doing now is I'm just joining the lines where it turned the corner at the top of the V down to the bottom of the V. And you can use a pen, as you see, you can use a ruler, you can use a chalk pencil to get over the black if your fabric is dark, or you can use a pencil like this to get over where your fabric is light. I mean a pen like this where your fabric is light. And then I'm just going to cut it out standard. And then after we paint the O, we're going to go ahead and trim off a little bit where the V touches the O, so it looks like the O is standing in front of the V just ever so slightly. Okay. Now I wanted this particular check to be symmetrical on the V, so I went ahead and I made sure that there was a square sort of right in the middle of where the 2 sides meet. All right. Now, if you're new here, hi. But I was mentioning in the beginning that I got that paper in a paper pack on Halloween clearance from Holler for $1. And this buffalo check, black and white, and the black and white gingham that we use on the L were from Walmart. The small buffalo, the big buffalo check was 347 or 397 a yard, and the small gingham was $1.97 a yard. $1.40, the $1.97, yeah, a yard. So you can really get them for very inexpensive. You can also use scraps, which is really what I'm doing here. Okay, so now I'm tracing the L, and I knew that I wanted them. I didn't want to graduate the size of the ginghams. Like, I didn't want to start with the small one and then do the next size and the next size and the next size, because I was afraid that that would not get enough differentiation between the letters. So what I did was I purposefully spaced small, super large, then the next smallest, and then the next largest. No, the next largest and the next smallest. And I kind of did that so that we could differentiate a little bit better between all of the letters. All right. Now, it's okay if you have to cut your fabric bigger. It's better to do it bigger than smaller. The only time that I worry about, or I will caution you, is if you're overlapping another letter. Don't try to cut it too big there. If you do end up cutting it too big there, then go ahead and don't decoupage the whole way. And I'll show you that step when we get to it. But let's see, once I have there, so you can see I laid it down on the L, and I kind of tried to like continue the O over the L so I could cut out that curve. So it looks like the O is sitting in front of the L. Okay. Now, don't mind the fact that my V is a different color. I did start to decoupage this already, and I realized, duh, Jerry, you have to cut the fabric out first, so it dried. But once I have all of the three cut out that I went ahead and I took my chalk paint. Now, I very, very carefully only painted the front of this because I wanted to leave that that natural craft paper color along the edges. So we're only going to go ahead, see there? And we're going to only go ahead and paint the very, very front. And this is the homemade chalk paint. I will put a link in the video. Oh, you guys, why do you love me? I will put a link to this. I will link the video on how to make the chalk paint in the description box down below. Thank you, and have a nice day. But this chalk paint does dry super fast, even though we're waiting for it. And it coats really, really nicely. So what I'm doing here is I'm just touching up wherever I might need. Okay? And it's okay if I went over the over the V a little bit. But I do want to tell you guys, full disclosure, when you look at the end and when you looked at the thumbnail, I would, if I could do this over again, I would paint under the fabric. The fabric is not translucent, but once you put the Mod Podge on it, it does, the wood underneath it does dull the white. So I would paint under my V and I would paint under my L, which is where I put the fabric. There is absolutely zero need to paint under that paper because that paper is super thick. But if you have this check in a smaller, thinner piece of paper, then you might want to paint under it as well. But I didn't realize that until after it dried. It really didn't even look like that while it was still wet. It only looked like that as it dried. It started to become translucent, and you could see that I lost the vibrancy and the white behind the fabric. Okay? So that would be my tip for you guys, that if I could go back in time, I would paint underneath my fabric letters. Okay? Now I'm just taking a little bit of this gray that I mixed apple barrel paint with the black craft paint from the Crayola black craft paint from the Dollar Tree, and I just mixed gray. As you can tell on my painting mat, I've made lots of grays for lots of different buffalo checks. This one just is a little too light, so I'm trying to add a little bit more. just to get the color that I want. And I'm just freehanding this. I knew that I wanted huge squares, and I knew that where I was going to end them and start them visually. But you guys go ahead and use a ruler if you want to just get those clean edges. You can also use the stamping method with this if you like that stamping method as well. I just wanted to make sure that it was a lot bigger than comparatively sized. I tried to get it to graduate up to be like a bigger buffalo check than the other fabrics and papers. Okay. So after I do the gray, and I'm going to let it dry. The gray, again, you do when you're painting buffalo check, you make a gray and white. You put your white base, you make a gray and white checkerboard, and then in whatever row you want to paint every other white square black. You want to follow them across in their columns, and you'll end up with the perfect buffalo check. Okay? Now you saw there I laid the fabric over the V once the white coat was on there, and I kind of traced out where I wanted the circle to get cut off of the fabric so it looked like the O was cut out, but I shouldn't have done that. Basically, I made it so that the O stands in front of everything. But it's okay. It's whatever it is. It worked out really cute, so I liked it. So now I've done the gray, and now I'm filling in the black. And again, I wanted to make sure that this was sort of like down the middle so it's even, so you can kind of get the feel of the buffalo check. All right, and I'm just touching up the black a little bit, and then I'm going to go back and I'm just going to touch up that white square. Yeah. It's just much easier than trying to wait for all of those extra coats to dry. And I like using these foam brushes from the Dollar Tree for this because they do give a nice, clean, straight line. Okay? And I just really like the way this one turned out. I really do. All right. And like I said, if I had you guys continue to paint white. Hindsight being what it is, I would have painted underneath the fabric, but it isn't. So I'm going to start with the letter E, which of course should have been on the top and the front. So that's why we're doing that one first. And I'm not being generous with my Mod Podge, but you really should be. I'm just very stingy with it. I always have been. I kind of feel like too much gives crinkles, but then I realize not enough makes crinkles. I don't know. But I just want to make sure I position it well, and then I'm going to go over it with Mod Podge. This is good too because if your fabric, or not your fabric, but if your paper is shiny, the matte Mod Podge will dull it down a little bit too to give it a little bit more of that farmhouse, old world, old feel, old style. Okay, and I am peeling back the letters, the paper as I need to tuck some more Mod Podge under it. Okay, because sometimes when you start, by the time you get to the bottom of the letter, then the top might be starting to get dry. So just do what you can. And then I went around and I protected that wood around the edge because even though I wanted it to be that craft paper color, I wanted it to be protected. So I went ahead and I took the Mod Podge and I went all the way around. The great part about that is I don't have to worry about if it's like bleeding over. And then you see how it looks in the V. The V, it makes it dark. So if you don't, if you get some over while you're doing your paper and you don't finish going over it with the spreading it out with the extra Mod Podge, then you'll have like spots of dark brown. I was going to wrap a ribbon around this entire thing, and I was like, that's just too much work, so I'm done. All right, and then I'm doing the same thing for the L. Now I wanted to tell you, if you've never decoupaged fabric before, it will pull with you, so be careful of it, okay? So what you're going to do is, my best technique for doing decoupage with fabric is to pounce. I don't know if I started pouncing here yet, but you'll see it. Because when you drag, it'll take the fabric with you. And that happens with some papers too, but mostly it happens with the fabrics because the fabrics have stretch and give. So you be careful as you start to put the decoupage back over it because then it will want to go with you and then it might get waves in it. So I like to pounce and get some just to push the decoupage through the fabric without moving the fabric too much. All right. And then again around the outside, do the edges. And now we're going to go with the V. And the V, just make sure it's positioned properly before you start your pouncing. Okay. And again, if it's over a little bit on the tops and the edges, that's okay, because we're going to trim it once it dries. If you get decoupage on the fabric, then it makes it nice and stiff, and it actually cuts really nicely. It cuts with a like a box cutter. We're going to use a craft knife, and it cuts really nicely with the craft knife if the decoupage has stiffened the fabric. Okay. And again, be mindful. See, pouncy, pouncy, pouncy. Be mindful again of moving the fabric and stretching the fabric. All right. I just really like the way this came out, guys. I don't know why it was so simple to me. I wanted to use scraps, and I did. It just is still very farmhousey. Like I said, my room has got love stuff all over it. I don't know if you guys, I don't think we've actually had a tour of our bedroom yet, have we? Just little ones, but nothing big. So now I'm going to take my craft knife and my cutting mat, and I'm going to go ahead and trim up all of the excessive fabric and paper that's basically overage. And now I just want to show you a couple of different techniques. We can work from the back. If you work from the back, you just want to make sure you extend your blade a little bit so you're not accidentally cutting off any of the love word. Okay, and if you're doing from the front, what I would like to do is I like to hold the craft knife. I either cut straight down, like perpendicular with the material, or on some cases, if the fabric is stiff enough, I like to take it at like a 45-degree angle and just work across the edge. That will take off a little bit of the material, but that is actually also a really nice look where a little bit of the raw edge shows through. Okay? And we're just going to use a combination of these techniques. But you see how nice it cuts when you have decoupaged the fabric? I mean, it just cuts like paper, so it's beautiful. All right? I'm just going to do the back of the L, and like I said, extend the knife so that you're not accidentally cutting into the actual sign. All right? And then just get to where you like it. And like I said, you can see while it's still, before it's like completely dry, it's still, the whites still look pretty vibrant. And then once it's completely dry, they just, ivory out. Which, in all fairness, my French country is ivory and black. So I was actually contemplating taking a little bit of tea staining to the really bright white parts and maybe perhaps making it like more ivory, like, dirty looking. Okay. Might do that still. I'm not really sure yet. Actually, it works on this piece because the L and the V are like every other letter with the fabric. And then, so it's like, I don't know. It works for me. So, all right. And then once you're done just cleaning it all up, then you can decide if you want to hang it or stand it. If you want to stand it and you want to glue some Jenga blocks on the back of the L and the E, you can. Mine stands perfectly without anything, but I don't have any kids or dogs or cats. All right. Well, technically Mom does, but she doesn't really ever come out here and jump on the fireplace. Anyway, hope you really enjoyed this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to share this video with friends and family. Anybody who might be interested in redoing their love sign in the farmhouse style and working with these decoupage techniques. And if you haven't yet, click subscribe, and when you do, a little bell will pop up. When you ring that bell, YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a new video. And in the description box, you'll also find a link to my vlog channel, which we started a while back. And if you want to, jump over there and we can have a chat. And I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to that one as well. As always, you take care, God bless, and we'll see you next time. Bye.